My son will live.
We've hidden him 3 months, dear. I don't know how much longer we can...
We've made
Have you
him
ever
a
wondered
basket,
why
haven't
Moses
we,
split
Miriam?
the Red Sea?
A good basket, too.
I know we've all heard the story before, but let's take a moment to dig deeper. What if I told you that this wasn't just about parting physical waters? What if this was about separating something much more dangerous? The separation of false information from truth. And why was the sea red? You might not have thought about that before, but today we're going to uncover a hidden meaning behind this ancient story. Now let me ask you, have you ever seen the movie Red Rum?
Red rum.
You might have noticed that red rum spelled backward is murder. Just like in the movie, misinformation can be a form of murder, not physical, but spiritual and intellectual murder. When Moses split the Red Sea, we often imagine this grand miracle as just water moving apart, right? But what if the Red Sea was actually a symbol? The red could represent bloodshed, not literal blood, but the blood of those being spiritually slaughtered by false, watered down information. The people were at risk, not just physically, but mentally, and Moses was protecting them from something far more sinister: deception. So, in this sense, the act of parting the Red Sea could represent dividing truth from lies. By doing so, Moses saved the people, not just from Pharaoh's army, but from the misinformation that could have enslaved their minds and souls. Just like today, watered down information is still leading people astray. It's still dangerous, and it's still red rum. Think about how much information we consume today. We're constantly flooded with messages, half-truths, and lies. In many ways, it's like we're drowning in misinformation. That's what I mean by watered down information. Information that's diluted, manipulated, or just straight up taken out of context so that it's no longer the truth. And in that sense, it's murder. Why? Because it kills your ability to understand, to see clearly, and to know what's really going on. This watered down information keeps people in the dark and vulnerable to manipulation. Just like the sea was parted to save the Israelites from physical danger, we need to part ways with false narratives and misinformation to save ourselves spiritually and mentally. Now, let's go back to the Red Rum movie for a moment. In the movie, the backwards word represents a hidden danger, a secret threat. It's just like how misinformation works. It's often backwards, hidden in plain sight, but when you look closely, it spells out something much darker. And in today's world, that threat is everywhere. It's not just in the news. It's in the way we're taught, the way we're fed information, the way the truth is hidden behind layers of deceit. It's no different from what Moses did. He exposed the danger, divided it, and led the people to safety. If you keep one side in the dark, it becomes easy to manipulate the truth. When people are unaware, they can't see the full picture. They're easily led astray. Moses didn't let that happen. He didn't allow the people to remain unaware. He showed them the truth, divided the deception from the reality, and saved them. In our own lives, we need to do the same. We can't let misinformation control our thoughts and actions. We have to seek the truth, no matter how hidden it may seem. So when we look at the story of Moses parting the Red Sea, we can see it as more than just a miracle of nature. It's a miracle of truth versus lies. The Red Sea symbolizes the bloodshed caused by false information, and Moses dividing it represents the power of separating truth from deceit. Today, we face similar challenges. We're bombarded with misinformation that can lead us astray. But just like Moses, we can part the waters of falsehood and seek the truth. Thanks for watching, and remember, don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. Seek the truth. Always. Okay?
Y'all see these lines? These are African lines. Lions aren't from Rome.
King Charles
King
III
of
is
kings
acclaimed.
and Lord of lords, bless, we beseech thee, this crown.
The structure of black kings and queens. But why all of a sudden Africa acts like they don't understand the structure of a king and a queen? It's because they have killed and taken away our foundations, making us feel unworthy and incapable to stand on our own. Charles III is becoming a new face of the British monarchy, which is built off of violence, imperialism, and colonialism. His throne is a copy of what they stole from the majesty that comes from Africa. Most people don't know that Ethiopia, aka Abyssinia, was the first African country to call African Americans back to their homeland. Empress Zatu was the first queen of kings of Ethiopia from 1916 to the 1930s. Zatu wrote a letter also known as the Call to Africa. This letter was an open invitation to African Americans and other African descents to return to Ethiopia, their ancestry homeland. This letter offered land grants and Ethiopian citizenship to those who returned. Zatu also stressed the importance of preserving African culture and heritage. This letter resonated with Marcus Garvey. He was a prominent Jamaican African leader who saw Ethiopia as a symbol of African pride and independence. And this was the start of Garvey's Universal Negro Improvement Association, which actively promoted the idea of returning to Africa. Zatu's letter helped influence the Pan-African movement. As her letter is hard to find online, I got in contact with the researcher Julia Bonanchi, who sent me an excerpt from her book that mentions. She first explained how the invitation left some traces because it was shared during the UNIA convention. As is mentioned in her book, the Queen of Abyssinia assured them of cordiality, which I invited them back to the homeland, particularly those qualified to help solve our big problems and to develop our vast sources, teachers, artisans, mechanics, writers, musicians, professional men and women, all who are able to lend a hand in the constructive work which our country so deeply feels and greatly needs. Zatu and Garvey exchanged letters discussing cooperation and potential collaboration. The UNIA promoted Ethiopia as a destination for African repatriation. Their connection highlights the border of the Pan-African movement, which focused on unity, self-determination, and cooperation between Africa and its diaspora community. Once Zatu was mysteriously unalive, and Marcus Garvey was falsely accused and sent to prison and later deported back to Jamaica, this affected the original intentions and plans of the Pan-African movement. This is why we must understand that the movement back to Africa is Bible prophecy to restore, as is mentioned in Isaiah 1:26. And I will restore thy judges as at the first, and thy counselors as at the beginning. Afterward thou shalt be called the city of righteousness, the faithful city.